I'm here with our newest Upside Down Magic book. Hopefully, no one has read it. It's called The Big Shrink, and we talked about it on our last Zoom. So, I'm going to get started with chapter 1. Here we go. All right. Eleanor Boxwood Horace loved her family, obviously. She loved her demanding father who could turn things invisible. She loved her bossy, sporty older brother, Hawthorne, who had fire magic. And she loved her giggly older sister, Dahlia, who could make animals do whatever she wanted. What Nori Horace did not love was being home in Nutmeg with the three of them for Thanksgiving break. 4 days was so long. Nori missed living in Dunwhiddle with her Aunt Margot, who served pizza for dinner several nights a week. She missed her tiny bedroom with the stack of library books by the bed, and she missed her friends from Dunwhiddle Magic School, who were braver and more unusual than anybody here in Nutmeg. Nori looked at her hard-boiled egg. It sat primly in one of Father's special egg cups. She didn't want to eat it, so she spun it around and around. "Nori," Hawthorne whispered, "don't fiddle." Father had stepped into the kitchen to get more jam for Mrs. Cheddarlegs. Cheddarlegs, that's a funny name. Who had come for Sunday brunch. Nori groaned. Miss Cheddarlegs worked with Nori's father at Sage Academy, the fanciest magic school in the country. Father was the headmaster. Miss Cheddarlegs was head of the history department. She was the kind of person who always wore pantyhose, or nylons, stockings. Miss Cheddarlegs cleared her throat and rapped on her own egg cup with a tiny spoon. Tap, tap, tap. "Eleanor," she said, "Sage Academy now makes all students study the history of dreary men who wrote dusty old books. Do you study dreary men and dusty old books at your school?" Miss Cheddarlegs didn't actually say dreary men or dusty old books, but she might as well have. Everything she said was so boring. Plus, spending Sunday morning with an important educator made Nori feel dumb. Last summer, Nori had flunked the Sage Academy admissions test. She flunked because her magic was upside down, or wonky, if you were being mean about it. Only students with strong and typical magic got to attend Sage Academy. Hawthorne went to Sage. He was 16 years old. He was an excellent flare. There were 5 F's of magic: flares, flyers, fuzzies, flickers, and flexers. Like all flares, Hawthorne was great in the kitchen. He could cook eggs in his hands, for example, and roast marshmallows and peppers, but that was everyday flare stuff. For the Thanksgiving feast, Hawthorne had cooked the turkey, the stuffing, and the green bean casserole using magic instead of the oven. Father had wanted him to show off his skills for the invited guests. Dahlia went to Sage too. She was 13 years old and she was a fuzzy. That meant she had animal magic. She'd shown off for Father's friends as well. Her rabbits had done a hopping dance to the tune of The Lonely Goatherd. Nori had not been asked to show her magic to Father's friends. She actually thought they all really might like seeing her Dritten. To become a Dritten, Nori flexed into a kitten, then added some dragon. She became a combination of the two creatures, a winged kitten with fangs and fire breath. It was massively cool when it didn't go wrong. See, Nori was a flexer. That meant she could turn into animals. Only, unlike typical flexers, Nori often mixed up those animals. For example, she might flex into a mosquito, but add in kitten and become a mitten. Or she'd flex into a dolphin, add in porcupine, and become a porcupine. Or maybe a puppy with squid legs, a squippy. But mixed up animals were not the kind of thing Father was proud of, even though Nori was getting so good at them. At Dunwhiddle Magic School, the public school near where Nori's Aunt Margot lived, Nori was one of 8 fifth graders in a special upside-down magic class. With Miss Starr as her teacher, being upside down was fine by Nori. It was even fun. The students in the class were learning to make the most of their unusual abilities, even when the going was tough. But being upside down around Father, not fun at all. Now he returned to the dining room. "Here we go," he said, presenting a pot of strawberry jam to Miss Cheddarlegs. "Homemade by Hawthorne." Nori sighed. and pushed back her chair. May I be excused, please? Dr. Horace nodded. Thank you for the delicious breakfast, Hawthorne, Norrie said. Have a lovely morning, Miss Cheddarlegs. She zoomed to the kitchen with her breakfast dishes. Dahlia followed Norrie. The two of them wiped the counters and loaded the dishwasher. Dahlia sighed as she scraped a leftover granola into the compost bin. I know you get fruity doodles at breakfast at Aunt Margot's, she said. All the time, said Norrie, grinning. I wouldn't mind some fruity doodles. Father's always talking about protein and fiber. Huh? Norrie thought, looking at her sister. Did Dahlia, like Norrie, also think Father was a bit much sometimes? Dahlia's eyes lit up. Oh, I have something to show you. Come to my room. Upstairs, Dahlia dug a paper shopping bag out of her closet. She presented it to Norrie. Inside was an egg-shaped toy. It was made from something softer than plastic, something spongy and squishy. It was pale green, dotted with orange polka dots. Go on, she said. Squeeze it really hard. You're supposed to. Norrie squeezed and squeezed again. The egg jiggled. The egg wiggled. After 10 or so seconds, it cracked into 2 even pieces with a loud farting sound. Wait, Dahlia said, bouncing. Look! From inside the toy egg, a bitsy toy dragon emerged. Not a real dragon. Not a live dragon. Just the most awesome toy dragon in the world. Norrie had been studying dragons at school. This one looked like a parsley dragon, green with orange stripes. The toy parsley dragon waddled around. It flapped its bitsy wings. They're called dregs, said Dahlia, like a dragon egg. Get it? All the kids at Sage have them. Some are special, some are more ordinary. A parsley dragon is a pretty good one. Dahlia explained that the toy dragons learned more and more tricks the more attention you gave them. Just like real pets, she said. For example, they have to sleep for 10 hours a night. But that's boring, said Norrie. No, because they sleep when you sleep. You tuck them back into their eggshells, and in the morning you squeeze the shell and they wake up. They rehatch, which is cool because the hatching part is always funny. Why do you think the hatching part might be funny? Is it because of the noise that it makes? Dahlia showed Norrie 2 more dregs, both of them currently in their eggs. One egg was blue and the other was a grayish beige. Dahlia squeezed them both vigorously. The blue dreg hatched first with a giant fart noise. Out popped a tiny luminous dragonette. It fluttered its lashes adorably. Aw, said Norrie. Hi, crooned Dahlia. Hi there, cutie. She tipped the dragon onto her bed, where it stood on first on one leg and then the other. It made a tiny furbling noise, the special flute-like sound of that kind of dragon. Then it stretched its wings and began to glow a beautiful lemon yellow. Cool, huh? Said Dahlia. She snapped the empty halves of the eggshell together. She nodded at the tiny dragon. Now wait for it. The toy dragon cocked its head. It hopped toward Dahlia. Play with me, it said in a cute voice. Play with me, it jumped up and down. Play with me! Norrie ran her finger down the toy dragon's back. It furbled and cooed. So cute. I know, Dahlia said. You have to play with them twice an hour if you want them to learn more and more tricks. If I had one, I'd play with it all the time, Norrie said. She watched as Dahlia's beige dreg wiggled and cracked. Out hatched a miniature sludge dragon. It blinked. Dahlia put it on her bed, and it blinked again. Why isn't it doing anything? Norrie asked. Dahlia reassembled the empty beige eggshell and put it in her pocket with the blue one. I've kind of been ignoring it. Dahlia, Norrie scolded. She petted the sludge's head and waited for it to do something. It didn't. It just sat there being beige. Then it lay down and dropped its chin onto its front paws. I like my other ones better, said Dahlia. But if I play with this one, it would start doing stuff. Anyway, aren't they awesome? Yeah, I want one, said Norrie. Dahlia smiled. You can get them at Brilliant Ned's. Maybe Aunt Margot will take you. I'll ask, said Norrie. They're the best toys ever. Aunt Margot was a flyer and a very skilled one. She ran a one-woman taxi service, meaning she was the taxi. She flew her passengers wherever they wanted to go, within 100 miles of Dunwittle. When she came to pick up Nori after the holiday, she swooped down from the sky like a giant bird and skidded to a stop on the sidewalk. Aunt Margot was Nori's mom's sister. Nori's mom had died when Nori was little. Aunt Margot had spent Thanksgiving with her boyfriend, Figs, and his family. Now, at last, she was here to take Nori back to Dunwittle. Hooray! Nori ran down the porch steps and zoomed across the lawn to give her aunt a tackle hug. I have spending money from Father, she cried. Can we go to Brilliant Ned's, pretty please? Margot wrinkled her brow. Perhaps. How come? For dregs. They're dragon toys. Sure, why not? Aunt Margot said with a laugh. But first, let's go inside. I want to see Dahlia Hawthorne and your father. Father and Aunt Margot chatted for an hour. They talked about grown-up things like winter coats and scheduling and how was your holiday? Fine. How was yours? Father thanked Margot for looking after Nori. Margot said it was her favorite thing in the whole world to do. It was weird for Nori to have her two worlds mix. Life with Margot was pizza and flying, watching Tiger Ball on TV, and sleeping late on weekends. Life with Father was manners and chores, nutritious food, and homework. But whatever, sometimes Aunt Margot made her eat nutritious foods too. Anyway, the grown-ups were done quickly enough, and soon Nori and Margot were flying across town to Brilliant Ned's in Nutmeg. The dregs came in packs of 1, 2, or 10. Some of the packs were more expensive than others, and they had fancier dregs inside. Nori had just enough money for the cheapest bag of 10. 10! She could give one to every kid in her class, including herself, and still have 2 left over. In the crisp evening air, Nori linked one hand with Aunt Margot's and clutched her bag of dregs with the other. Aunt Margot grabbed Nori's suitcase and launched them both into the air. It was twilight when they reached the outskirts of Dunwittle. Nori thought the rooftops below looked cozy and welcoming. The houses weren't grand, but they were friendly looking, lit from within. There was Pepper's house, with her little brother's toys all over the backyard. Hi, Pepper's house. And Elliot's house, with an ice sculpture melting on the grass in front of it. Hi, Elliot's house. There was Dunwittle Magic School, and suddenly, right below them, Aunt Margot's small clapboard house with its tiny backyard. There were the plants, the tool shed, the picnic table, and in front, there was Aunt Margot's small yellow car in the driveway. Ah, home. They landed and went inside. Nori ran up to her room and spread the dregs out on her bed. She couldn't tell which eggs held which kind of dragons, although she wondered if the color of the eggs might provide a clue. Would the pink ones be a blurper dragon, or would it be the purple one instead? Would the deep orange one be red with red spots be a tangerine dragon, or a flaming nugget dragon? Do right by your dreg, read the directions that came with each. They explained what Dahlia already said. Play with them lots. Pet them, tickle them, pat them, carry them around. That way they will learn new tricks. Also, make sure they get their sleep by closing them into their eggs at night. Easy peasy, thought Nori. The only hard part would be deciding which dregs to keep and which to give to her friends. And that's the end of chapter 1. So we can talk about it later, and I'll see you guys on Thursday for our next Zoom meeting with Miss